It's time to get back to basics, and in this one I'm going to show you how to use a combi drill. A combi drill really is one of those tools that every home should have. You never know when you might need one, and it's always handy having one around. Right, so let's talk about where the drill actually gets its power from. In my case, it's from the battery. Now you can buy corded drills, but I would highly recommend that you get a battery powered one. It saves a lot of hassle trying to find a power plug, and you haven't got the cables to trip over. Plus the batteries these days are really powerful and they last ages. The batteries typically slot in at the bottom of the drill. Now do keep in mind that different brands will have different methods for attaching the battery, but they all follow pretty much the same principle. The battery that I've got also has an indicator on it, so you can press the button and it'll show you how much battery life's left. The only real thing you need to pay attention to with the batteries is making sure that the voltage matches the voltage of the drill. So in this case, I've got an 18 volt battery for an 18 volt drill. The other number you'll notice is the amp hour number. In this case, I've got a 5 amp hour battery, and basically a good rule of thumb for this, the higher the amp hour number, the longer the battery will last. And when it's time to charge the battery, it just clips into the charger the same way it does to the drill. So now we've got some power to the drill, let's have a look how it holds the drill bits. It holds the bits in the front in the chuck, and the chuck consists of 3 jaws. These can be loosened and tightened just by turning the chuck itself. The jaws will open, which allows you to remove the drill bit and insert a different one. When you're inserting a new bit, tighten up the chuck by hand and get it to a point where the bit is sitting evenly amongst all 3 jaws. When it's centered, tighten it up fully. If you're feeling a bit more confident, you can also use the power of the drill itself to loosen and tighten the chuck. Put the drill into reverse, hold the chuck, pull the trigger and it will loosen. Put the drill bit back in, put the drill into forward, pull the trigger and tighten it back up. I always tighten the last little bit by hand though. Set a little bit further back than the chuck, you'll find a row of numbers. Now this is the drill's clutch. The lower the number, the less power the drill will turn with, and the higher the number, the more power the drill will turn with. You would use these numbers to try and control how much power you're applying when driving screws. So if you're driving a small screw into softwood, you're probably better with a lower number. That way you won't just drive the screw right the way through the wood. But if you're using something like a big bolt that you're trying to drill in, you want that on a higher torque setting, so you put it to a higher number on the clutch. That way the drill's got more power to drive it in. If you're unsure what number to use, don't worry, I never change on myself. I always leave it on the highest number. That way the drill's got the most power that I need, and I can control the depth of screws just by eye. Now depending on what brand of drill you've got, you might also have the drill settings on the clutch itself. That's what it's like on my drill. So on the clutch I've got my numbers for the torque settings, and I've also got my hammer mode setting and my drill mode setting. But on other drills I have seen these settings on a completely separate ring behind the chuck, so just have a look out for these symbols. When I've got the drill set to drill mode, it does exactly what it says on the tin. This is the best mode for drilling into wood, metal and plastics. Now if I want to drill into masonry and brickwork, I want to change the setting to the hammer mode using the little hammer symbol. A little bit further back still on the drill, you'll find the speed settings. Typically you'll just have 2 options for this. Option 2, which is the fastest, and option 1, which is the slightly slower option. I always leave mine on option 2, the fastest setting, because you can adjust the speed using the trigger as well, which I'll show you in a second. But of course set this to whatever suits your needs. But you can also adjust the speed by just the trigger itself. A slight press and it'll turn slowly, a bit more, and the speed increases. Now of course the trigger is what's used to actually make the drill spin. But how do you change it from going forward and reverse? If you want to put a screw in or take a screw out, loosen the chuck, tighten the chuck. Well, just above and slightly behind the trigger, you'll find a switch that goes all the way through the body of the drill. By flicking this switch, you change the direction that the drill spins in. So you can go from forward, and with a flick of a switch, you can go to reverse. Here's a quick troubleshooting tip for you. If you ever find yourself in the position where you can't press the trigger, for whatever reason it just won't press, the chances are you haven't got the switch fully engaged into either forwards or reverse. It's caught a little bit in the middle. So just make sure that it's fully pressed, either to the left or to the right, and then that'll free up the trigger to be able to turn. The last few things that you'll find on the drill itself really do differ by brand to brand, but most of them will incorporate these accessories. Things such as a belt clip, a magnet for holding different drill bits and driver bits, and a light as well. This one that I've got automatically comes on when I pull the trigger, but I can change the settings to adjust the brightness and to make sure that it's always on. Some drills even have an attachment where you can add an extra handle to the top, so you've got 2 hand grips. I just don't use one on this drill. Right, so now let's have a look at actually using the drill. Before I drill into this piece of wood, I want to make sure that it's on the right setting. At the moment it's on hammer mode, so I need to change that. So I'll twist it until it's on the drill setting. The drill symbol matches up with the arrow on top. I'm going to keep my speed at setting 2. A faster speed works a lot better for drilling. And I'm going to make sure that the drill is in the forward motion. I don't want it going in reverse. Now, a lot of drill bits that are designed for use in wood will have a sharp point at the front, and that's ideal to stop the drill bit from wandering. I can put that point onto my mark and give it a slight press in. That'll stop the drill from wandering round now. Now you're at this point and you want to take the drill bit back out, you can put it into reverse, but it's just as easy to keep it drilling forward and pull your hand back. Now if you're using a drill bit that hasn't got the sharp point on the front, the drill bit can tend to wander around the wood. It can be hard to keep it in the same position. You can get dedicated tools like a centre punch, which is just a sharp piece of metal that you can push into the wood and it makes a dent, or you can use something as simple as a screwdriver. Put it on your mark, slightly press into the wood, and that will give you an indentation to start your drill bit. Now when I put the drill bit into that little dent, it should stop it from wandering. And again, if I want to reverse it, I'll just keep the drill spinning but pull it backwards. Now the settings that you use for drilling into wood can be used the same way for drilling into metal. You just need to make sure that the drill bit you're using is designed for drilling into metal. You may want to slow the speed down a little bit, but again, I like to control that just with the trigger motion. Now what if you want to drill into a brick wall, into stonework or masonry? You're going to need a different setting and a different drill bit. Now when it comes to wanting to drill into a brick wall or stonework, you're going to want to make sure that you're using a masonry drill bit, because these drill bits are designed specifically for this material. You're also going to want to make sure that the setting on the drill is set to hammer mode. So just turn the settings until the hammer symbol matches up with the arrow on top. I'm going to keep the speed setting to number 2 because I prefer to control the speed just with the trigger, but of course you can change this setting to best suit your needs. Now the way the drill is going to work, it's going to act, as you can guess, like a hammer. So rather than just spinning like it does when you're drilling wood or metal or plastic, it will also hammer into the material. So you will feel like the drill is juddering, as if it's going backwards and forwards. That's what it's meant to do, don't worry. It's hammering into the material, which breaks it apart, and the spinning motion then removes that material. You can probably hear the difference in sound as well. You can hear the drill actually hammering. So what you can hear there is the drill bit slightly going up and down at a very high speed. It's hammering a little divot into the material, and the spinning motion is removing the material that it breaks away. So the other setting of the drill that we need to look at is the setting which turns it into an electric screwdriver. That's probably what you're going to be using it most for. So what you're going to need to do first is put a screwdriver bit into the chuck. Now typically the screwdriver bits will be hexagonal in shape, but you still want to make sure that it's all centered in the 3-jaw chuck. So now we've got the bit installed, we need to have a look at the settings. We want to make sure that we're on the screwdriver setting. On this drill, I just need to choose a torque number, but on some drills you will have a dedicated screwdriver symbol. Now as I mentioned, the higher the number, the more power that the drill is going to have. So to start, I'm going to demonstrate it on a much lower number. So let's try it on number 1. Now if I've got it on this lower setting, you should hear the chuck kick in and stop it from going too far. That noise is the chuck disengaging, and you'll notice that the drill stops spinning. It won't allow me to drive the screw in any further than this. So I can increase the torque setting. Let's try it on to number 5. Now at this setting, it should drive it in a little bit further. And it'll get to certain points and it won't drive any further because it just hasn't got enough torque to drive that screw. So I always suggest to leave it on its highest figure. In this case, That's setting number 13 for me. And this allows me to fully drive the screw in. So there's a really good example what I was talking about with the torque settings. In its highest setting, and me not adjusting the speed with the trigger, the screw has buried far too deep into the wood and it's caused it to split. So if you are worried about this, then adjust the torque settings on the drill to make sure it stops at the perfect point. But you can control it just with the trigger alone. So let's try that again, still on the highest torque setting, but I'm going to adjust the depth it goes to using the trigger alone. That's gone in much better now and it's nice and flush with the surface of the wood. So now we've got the screw in place. What if we want to remove it? Well, we just need to flick the reverse switch like I showed you earlier, flick it into reverse mode, and it'll allow us to take the screw out. A quick tip, if you find that the screwdriver bit keeps skipping out of the top of the screw, instead of just holding the trigger down fully for all the way when you're driving the screw in, if you pulsate it instead, just in short motions, it'll give you a lot more control over the screw itself. And the same is true in reverse. So when it comes time to actually buying a combi drill, there are a few numbers that's worth keeping an eye out for. The first one is the voltage. Mine is an 18 volt drill, but you can get 12 volt, 10.8 volt, and the lower the voltage, typically it's lower power and a lower price. Something else to keep an eye out for is the amp hour of the batteries. I've got 5 amp hour batteries. Basically, the higher that number is, the longer the batteries will last. You can get smaller amp hour batteries though, 1.3s, 2 amps, 4 amps. There is a variety depending on the brand, so do keep an eye out. Something else that will affect the price is if the drill is brushless or not. Some old drills will have carbon brushes next to the motor, and that's how it transfers power. But over time they can wear out and they need replacing. The drill that I've got is actually brushless, so it doesn't have those brushes. It makes it a lot more powerful and more power efficient, but of course that does come at a premium. Other than looking into the specs and the drill itself that you want to buy, it's also worth having a look at what that brand has in the rest of its range, especially when it uses the same batteries. You might not want to buy any other tools yet, but they might have some tools that really catches your fancy, something like a pressure washer or a jigsaw. If you buy that drill and the batteries now, if you want to get that tool at a later date, you don't have to buy the batteries all over again because you've already got them with your drill, so you can save a lot of money that way. So if you are looking at a particular drill and you have a look at what the brand has got to offer in their range, and there isn't anything at all that you could ever see yourself buying, it might be worth looking at a brand that has got other tools that you are interested in. I hope you found this video helpful. There really is a lot more to a combi drill than most people think, so I hope this video has opened up some insights and showed you just how versatile of a tool it is. It really is something that every home should have. If you'd like some tips and tricks videos, or maybe some more in depth about which bits to use for different materials, let me know in the comments down below and I'll be sure to get some videos made. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you click the subscribe button and click the little bell icon next to it. That way you'll get a notification as soon as you upload a new video. Thank you all for watching.